What's up, you guys? Today I'm gonna be doing my first Q&A. I made a post asking people to just relate to me questions that they wanted to know about me, or maybe my fitness journey, my businesses, my personal life, all of that. And this is what you guys came up with. How do you get started in a fitness journey? For me personally, when I started my fitness journey, I just had a surgery on one of my legs. And so I had one leg that had muscle and the other leg had no muscle at all, because if you know you have a surgery, they put something in it that makes it lose the muscle, and I just didn't want that. I already had a surgery before that where it took me so long to develop equal amounts of muscle on each side. So I looked for a trainer and I found one, and he was awesome. And I think for me, moving forward with that, I realized I was not that disciplined. So if you struggle with discipline, don't feel like you're weak for getting a trainer. That's where I started. And that was super helpful for me, because even when I did get a trainer, I would start canceling. So what I had to do was I set my days with him and I paid him for the month. And that way, if I missed a day, which I didn't because I didn't want to lose money, it just held me even more accountable. Having a trainer in itself keeps you accountable, but then when you pay it a month ahead, then you're really not gonna miss. What are your fitness goals? If you knew me in high school, I was actually much more into fitness in high school than I am now. I'd say now I'm into health, which I'll explain the difference to that in my head. In high school, I was very about, I wanted really huge legs, I wanted the six pack, all of that stuff. Every Sunday as a high schooler, I would meal prep 15 meals, and I would only eat that week. The only thing different that I would eat is dinners that my mom made, and she cooks pretty healthy. So I was on a super strict diet, and even to this day, there's certain foods I can't eat because I'm just so sick of them from high school when I meal prepped. Fast forward to now, I'd say I'm very much not so strict on about what types of food I consume. As what I mean is, like, I don't mind eating a burger and pizza and stuff like that if I make it myself. I don't mind eating brownies if I make them homemade because I know what's in it. I hate not knowing what's in my food. I hate learning about how things we eat in America are illegal in other countries because they're so bad for our bodies. So I'm not so strict like I used to be. Like, I used to be okay eating boxed stuff if it was low in calories, and now I'm like, maybe just cut out the boxes and just eat the mac and cheese but make it homemade. That's kind of where I'm at. In terms of working out, my knees just aren't working with me anymore. I think I used to be big on squatting. You know, I'm pretty petite and I would squat quite a bit of weight. And now I just can't do it. It's so painful. My knees crack. When I do try, sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna try today. And one squat in, like, they hurt so bad. So I probably haven't squatted with free weights in a year at least. But I find other alternatives. I try to do something physical every single day. No, about 5 times a day. 5 times a week, not every single day. 4 to 5 times a week is what I consistently work out. If I'm having a super, super tiring day, I make it a point to at least stay disciplined and go for a few walks around my apartment complex. I've really started to substitute yoga because that's just a great alternative for me. I love how I feel. I don't leave with my bones aching like I do when I lift. Even though I think lifting is good in certain increments, it's good for your body. It's good to have cardio, just different types of ways to keep your body healthy, but I just didn't find it beneficial to be excessively lifting heavy weight. It really damaged my knees even more. That's how I handle my health and fitness now. For my fitness goal specifically, yeah, I just want to be healthy, and what that looks like for me. I want something quick, still something that keeps me healthy and in shape. I'm not trying to impress anybody anymore. It's just that health aspect. Okay, next question. Oh man, did you ever have second thoughts on getting married young? Absolutely. I think in the beginning of mine and Josiah's relationship. We were dating 3.5 years before we got married. And in the beginning, he was super intentional and mature about it. He expressed to me that if I don't see myself getting married to him, then why should we be dating? Because like, what's the point, essentially? And we were in agreement on that. But I think for me, you have to take in consideration that I was 19 years old, 18 when I met him, and we started dating when I was 19. So I really romanticized it. When he said date to marry, I was like, oh my God, he wants to marry me. I really, really romanticized that and didn't take into consideration how serious it was. So like on year 2, he was gonna graduate the next year. Marriage was getting more of a serious topic. I was like, oh shoot, he meant it. I was always still very willing to break up, like very immature in my fights. Maybe he said something that offended me, and I would be like, just go then, just go. Super, super immature. But when he kind of expressed to me that we needed to handle situations maturely, because if we were planning on eventually getting married, there was no reason to blow off fights because they would just be problems that lingered on later. So then after the 2-year mark, I was thinking about marriage more. It was becoming more tangible. So it wasn't so scary when I got engaged, except the first month, which I was not anticipating, because after 3.5 years, he graduated. I was like, okay, I think he's gonna propose soon. But when he actually did, it was scary. I was excited, but I was like, are you serious? Are you serious right now? Like, it was so scary. And I think those fears kind of came into play. And after that, any little thing he did, like, I'm just gonna be dramatic with this and show you the extent of it. If he left a towel on his bed, or I saw he didn't do his laundry, I'm like, or maybe he said something that offended me, I would just be like, is this what I'm gonna live with forever? Like, I took things so personally, and I think that was just a reflection of my fears because I knew I was young. They say when you marry someone, you know, there are multiple people throughout that marriage, and I started thinking, oh my gosh, I met him when he's so young, he met me when I'm so young. What if I don't like who he becomes, and what if he doesn't like who I become? Like, maybe this is just me for a moment and I'm gonna be someone completely different, and what if we're not compatible? That was my mind, but he was really good about being like, you're gonna have, no matter who you marry, you're gonna have to work on issues. Like, there's never gonna be someone that you don't have to work on issues with. He just helped me understand that that's part of it. That's part of the process. So to answer your question, yes, I did consider that, but he was super, I think he thought of it, but it was never a fear to him at all. And that was really comforting to me and helped me stay sober in my thoughts. How about some wedding tips for the brides? I do have a few wedding tips. The first one that I had never heard of was make your cake. And this kind of applies if you have a big wedding, I would say. You make your cake to feed maybe 200 people, 150. You pay for that really nice, cute cake for the pictures and for the cake cutting. But in the back, you just have one long sheet cake. And so people see this cake, but they're not waiting. To cut the cake like that, like, that's gonna take forever. So if you can have one in the back that people are just, you know, hammering them out and it's passed out quickly, that's so much more time efficient, and it's a little bit cheaper, because to make those really, really pretty cakes costs more money. But if you can just have like a plain one in the back with no design, just frosting in the cake, nobody notices. That's what we did. Another tip that's really fun is, you know how the guy takes off that garter? If you decide to do that for your wedding, that's up to you. What was really fun at our wedding is we put it on a football, because when you fling it, sometimes it goes too short, or the guys just don't even care. But when you put it on a football, the guys just think it's like a game, and they're engaged, and everyone's trying to get the football. That makes it a lot more fun. And for my ladies, I will say my last tip is make sure you set all your dates and get them in place. So your makeup artist, your hairstylist, your flowers, your cake, your venue, all of that. Like, maybe you just got married and your wedding's not for a year. Start setting those dates, because you would be surprised how quickly these photographers, all of it, are already booked. I think I booked everything 6 months ahead, except the venue. I think the venue was a year ahead. And The wedding dress itself, which I was not anticipating, I went 6 months early. It took 5 months for the dress to come in, and then to get it altered took another month. So I got my dress 2 days before my wedding, which nobody tells you that can happen. So get on that stuff. What are you most proud of? I think I'm most proud of how I've said yes to everything I want to do, for sure. Even when it's scary, I think I'm proud of all the time. There's this pattern that I have where every time I start something, right before it launches, my body kind of freaks out and I'm like, I don't want to do it anymore. That happened with my YouTube channel, my Amazon. Fortunately, I've been too deep in it financially to get out of it. But also, just fighting that mental battle, I think there's a lot of power and a lot of pride I take in being able to face those fears. And when that fear just comes into me, you feel empowered when you can tell fear no. And I think I've been able to do that pretty well. When do you and Josiah plan on having babies? So, have an announcement. No, I'm just kidding. If you're Josiah's dad, I hope you got nervous. Funny enough, when we were engaged, I had baby fever like crazy. I couldn't wait to have a baby. I was baby. I think the whole year I thought about a baby every single day. No exaggeration. So when we actually, like 2 months before our wedding is when I was like, oh my gosh, this is so real now. I don't want a baby. I don't want a baby yet. Eventually, yes, I do want several babies. We've talked about starting in a year. That's where we're at with that. My ultimate goal is I want to be like a full-time, I want to be a foster parent. I'm going to have foster kids. I want to be able to provide lives for them that they didn't get to have, or just get to show them a glimpse of what life could be like. Just bring that hope to them and just let them know that they're loved and valued. And then I also want 3, 4, 5 of my own children. How do you manage your personal life with your business life? Fortunately for me, I love what I do. I love it so much, so it doesn't feel, this stuff doesn't feel like work. Like this right now, I'd say I love to be organized, and that's what actually takes most of my time. Is every Sunday I spend at least 6 to 7 hours preparing for my week. I was just talking about that with Josiah. I was like, how long do you think I spend a week, every Sunday, preparing for a good week? And he was like, I don't know, 3 hours? And I did the math, and it was 7 hours. So, I do all our laundry, I clean our house, I meal prep, I get everything to prepare our juices for the week, schedule out my week. There's just tons that I do every single Sunday, so that kind of takes away a day from family and friends a little bit. And then, throughout the week, I'm at school all day, student teaching, which I love that too. I love it all so much, but I think it's hardest balancing friends and family into my life. Making time to call family members is what I struggle with the most, which I think is so valuable, and I need to do way more. But I think it's also nice that I have my best friend Brianna. She'll be like, let's hang out. And I'm like, I'm cleaning today, but you could come over. And she's so fine with that. She's watching TV on my couch, talking to me while I'm cleaning. Those are the friends you need. And that's what makes it easy to balance. I also love being busy. So I'm never complaining about a busy life. I'm like, yes, this is where I thrive. So it's not hard for me to balance. I actually love having to balance it. I think it's a blessing. That's how I view it. What is the best thing so far about marriage and newlywed life? I've never really been someone who constantly hangs out with people. Even my closest friends, maybe I see them multiple times a month. It's just kind of crazy. But I don't know, I've kind of always been like that. So now having Josiah there constantly, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool having that consistent friendship. And not to say my friends aren't consistent. I'm just really busy, so it doesn't work out. But when you go to bed with someone every night, you're obviously seeing them every single day, waking up with them. It's cool that amongst all the commotion in my life, I still have that consistent person who's gonna be there forever. Sometimes I think I got sick. I got sick once, and I was like, man, I'm not gonna have nobody to take care of me when I'm sick. And I was like, oh, he's gonna be here like the whole time. And that was kind of like a cool realization. Oh man, have you ever considered plastic surgery? And I'll be completely transparent with this. Yes, I have considered it. I think in this day and age, who hasn't considered it? It's everywhere. It's everywhere we look. I'm definitely, I hope I can communicate this message appropriately, and I hope that it's understood that this is for me, and I'm not judging anyone who does. But when I thought about getting it, I had the money for it. You know, I could pay for it up front. I think even my family probably wouldn't have judged me for it. So it felt really easy. I knew a lot of people who had it and were happy about it. But before I even talked to Josiah about it, like, hey, am I crazy for this? What do you think about this? Even he wasn't like unsupportive of it. But before I decided to go any further with that, I was like, I need to sit back and reflect on, why do I want it? Like, why does Lauren want that? Am I unhappy with myself? So I took some time and thought, when I look in the mirror, do I not like what I see? And that was never an issue. I'm pretty confident. And I was like, okay, then why would I need plastic surgery? What's going on in my heart that I think I need that? And I was like, shoot, I only want it when I compare myself to people who have it. And when I really sat and thought about that, I was like, I will be damned if I go under the knife because I compared myself. That I will not be doing that. I'm not judging anyone. I considered it, but for me, that wasn't a good enough reason. How did your relationship start with Josiah, and how did you navigate it through faith? When I met him, it was so different for me because he was so deep in his relationship with God that I was like, oh shoot, I don't want to date him. I don't want to mess him up. Like it was, I felt like that, but no, he's not like that. And it was really cool that for once it was the man who was able to like lead me in that faith, and I wasn't trying to like give him reinforcements for reading his Bible. That's my own personal opinion and view on that. I admire that about him. Like, he was always reading books about God and reading his Bible when I met him. Like, to the point that I was like, can we just listen to regular music, please? Like, I couldn't get in the car without him just listening to worship music. Nothing's wrong with that if you like that. But for me, like, I love music too, and he was always listening to podcasts about God. So literally just by being around him, I could not be in the presence of God, because that was his life. That's how he lived his life. We have a lot of different opinions on the Bible and on concepts surrounding God than I think people would imagine. But we both know that God is our Savior. We know the truths on which we stand with, and that's our foundation. So I think if you're someone looking to date or to marry someone with that same mindset, you need to work on yourself as an individual. Don't go seeking a man of God before you're a woman of God, if that's your goal. That would be my advice for that. Was it hard to start eating healthy and staying consistent? Consistency was one of the biggest questions that I was asked, especially in terms of eating healthy. I grew up with parents and grandparents who all have their own farms. Like, when my mom makes a salad, basically everything's from her garden and from my dad's garden and my grandparents. So vegetables were always a big part of our life. Growing up, one of my cousins, Cassie, would call me the veggie monster instead of the cookie monster because I loved vegetables. So it was never hard to necessarily eat healthy, but when you get older and you have to cook yourself and all of that, that's when it does get tricky because there's a lot of other temptations. But I would say the best advice to staying consistent is make sure you have a large amount of healthy options. So if you're prone to getting a sweet tooth, make sure you have that alternative low-calorie ice cream in your fridge. Don't try to deprive yourself of all things sweet, all things like salty or chip-like. Just make sure you have alternatives that you can go to. Try to eliminate being hungry. I know we try to eat less sometimes, but think about it, like, I like Arby's and McDonald's, but I really don't go often. The times I go often when I'm so hungry. I'm like, I'm so hungry right now. I don't care what I eat. That's when you tend to make those decisions. So that's why I really talk about meal prepping a lot. It's just, you have access to healthy things. You just constantly need to have access. We don't really have anything unhealthy in our house that I can think of, because I don't even want it to be an option. So if I want something unhealthy, that means I have to leave the house, I have to spend money, I have to you just have to almost make it a negative experience to go outside of your goals. I know I didn't answer all of the questions that were sent in, so if I didn't answer, be expecting the DM. I'll get back to you personally. But otherwise, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment on what you thought, if anything surprised you, if you agree with anything that I said, and we'll see you on the next video.